Okay, guys, how you doing? Let me see how many of you are here. We've got 69 of you in here already. Welcome to the call. It's going to be, I'm sure the number will be growing in the next 10, 15 minutes. That's the way it always goes. We're going to be continuing to let people in, and now I'm kind of this is our makeshift setup, just a little housekeeping. You can see here, we got this big empty space. This is going to be all converted to live streaming, production, things like that, for creating videos for you guys. And right now we don't have all the right equipment, but I think we're flowing pretty well. We just got to we're just getting it going. It's like speed of implementation, which is one of the keys to success. Is you just get started, then you clean things up as you go. One of my mentors once said, ready, fire, aim, instead of ready, aim, fire, because too many people spend so much time preparing and working and getting ready to do things, and they never get into action. So if you just get going and then just keep cleaning up 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, everything comes together. And that's exactly how I built the whole YouTube channel. Years ago, I just started shooting videos, even though I was terrified to do it. And I kept releasing on it and cleaning up my thinking. And now I don't care. It's just easy and fun. Starting to do the same thing with Instagram now. I'm starting to do an Instagram video a day on my personal. I'm going to be doing one on the business, and we'll get that rolling too. But enough of that. That's just me blathering about a bunch of BS stuff. Not really BS, important stuff, but blathering about a bunch of stuff while everybody gets into the room, because we're up to 77 people now. But I want to get to the talk, and I want to get started pretty much on time. What did Daniel write? Fire, aim, ready. He's changing it even more. Let me plop you guys over here on my other screen so I can see you guys talk. Pull the panelists up. We're up to 80 people now and growing. And remember, this is kind of a private group. There's about 500 on you. So a lot of you watch it in after it's over in Facebook. This isn't necessarily live on YouTube. So if this was live on YouTube, it would probably even grow bigger. But we really want to work with people that really want to understand this information. Hold on one second. Somebody's at my door. Give me one sec. I think it's Anthony. You can talk to him in a minute, guys, while I go open the door for Anthony.
I'll say hey to everybody. 86 people. Hey guys, it's Sam. I can't even remember what the topic is, but it's going to be powerful. I just want you guys to be reminded that if you have questions, put them in the Q&A. Otherwise, they get buried in the chat. So, hey, there's Vikrant. Hey, man, good to see you. Good to see your name up there. So if you have any questions, throw them in the Q&A. And if you want to chat with each other and do that in the chat window. Hey, he's back.
I am back. So what I was doing there, guys, just so you know, again, I was talking about ready, fire, aim, just go, and we don't have everything ready. We didn't plan for COVID, right? And I had Anthony rush over here because my laptop was glitching last week, and I didn't have the access to the other laptop I usually use this morning. So I wanted to make sure I had a backup laptop in case it starts glitching. We might have found the problem, so we're going to get going. And if there is, I'll have one to switch out and get going. So were you saying anything else that you wanted to finish there, Sam?
So I was welcoming everybody and talking about the chat window, and Nimrod said, I popped into his head when he realized he's 36, you're just beginning.
Oh God, yeah. I remember 36. I thought I was so old.
I was really fucking old.
I was at 36. I said, oh my God, I got to get all his handles right around 35, 36. I was like, if I get any older and I don't get this handled, I'm going to be miserable my whole life. And there was a sense that my life was over.
And I swear, when I turned 29, I thought, shit, my life is over. I was 29.
I guess we all have this age that which we freak out at, and then and we go from there. Yeah. And so yeah, that's when I completely recommitted to taking workshops, seminars, whatever I had to do to build the relationships I wanted in my life. It wasn't about money at that time. I didn't even have any money hardly, but I didn't care. what I wanted was to be able to have good relationships, meet women, and that's when that work started. Money came later. I didn't. It's like it was weird. People were, my mind. I'm like, I should be focusing on money, but I just don't care. It was such an interesting experience back then. But let's get into the talk. We're going to be talking about turning this whole idea. We're going to be continuing this idea of turning fear into courage. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit and go a little deeper into it. Each week we'll maybe cover it from a different perspective. I think one week I want to do the 7 natural laws and how that relates to releasing and transmuting your reality. And I think that'll be a powerful talk too. But for this one, what I want to dive a little deeper into this idea of what fear is and how you transmute it. Let me take a look. I was writing a lot of notes the last couple of days about this, and it's funny because when I get notes, a lot of times they just start coming to me. They start flowing in. You might want to, Anthony, turn around the other way so that the light is facing.
Oh, okay.
Anthony's downstairs. I'm going to mute him. Okay, cool. And so what I want to start with this morning is some knowledge from and releasing. We talk about certain things, and I want you to understand that these principles have been around in different forms for years. And there's lots of ways to release, whether it's movement or the releasing process I teach, mixed with movement, which I do teach both. Whether it's the contemplation. Contemplation is an amazing way. It's using thought in a healthy way to cause releases that it's more like the style that, say, somebody like Bob Proctor or David Nagel would use. Now, I want to talk a little bit about a book, and this book is called As a Man Thinketh. I'm sure a lot of you know this book. It's an amazing little read. The book was written. I'm gonna do something here. Looks good down there, man. Yeah. He's downstairs, and I'm upstairs in that loft. So. Okay, so this book was written in, yes, my reading glasses, they help me a lot when 1903, 1908, 1902. So this book was written in 1902. This tells you that these people really got it even back then. I think they got it better in some ways. There's so many amazing, powerful teachings from the late 1800s all the way up into the early 1900s to the mid 1900s. Some powerful, powerful new thought books that just mix so beautifully. Sometimes with the new thought, we get a little too focused on the positive and forget to how to release the negative. And we're just like, and we get into that positive thinking mindset with some of the new thought. And when you understand releasing, that doesn't happen. You actually learn to use it in the way the original authors intended. Let me check on, I just want to check on you guys. Okay. 28, old as heck. Great book. It's a good question. Jonas asked, why didn't you release on your eyesight yet? Actually, I have materials for that. I have a lot of meditation and training materials to heal your eyes. A lot of people do it. More important things. I mean, you can do anything, but you can't do everything at once. And I've got other areas that have just been way more important than my eyesight. I do believe most people can heal their eyes. A lot of people have done it that I found. So we'll find out when I get around to that. But when that moves up on my list to importance, then I'll get to that. Okay, so let's get going, guys. So this is and As a Man Thinketh. He opens with a poem, and this poem, we're gonna go deeper into this idea with another author too. And there's several authors I really love. And then we're gonna go deeper into understanding how to create courage to create your reality the way you want. And what I mean by this is, like, when you really master courage, that's the gateway to acceptance, love, peace, what metaphysical Christian authors would call God. If you believe in God, I do. But I love the Buddhist teachings. I love the Tao Te Ching. I love Christian teachings. So any place I can get to truth, which is going to take me closer to source. So in this book, it opens with this poem. Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought, and shaping what he wills brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret and it comes to pass. Your secret thoughts, right? Think about that. He thinks in secret, it comes to pass. Environment is but a looking glass. So, what are your secret thoughts? What do you think deep down inside that you don't tell people? Do they serve you? Do they not serve you? Do you have dreams you're afraid to mention because you're afraid that somebody will expect you to go realize them, or you'll never realize them, so you just keep pushing them down? All this stuff is affecting the quality of your life and how you're going to move forward and how you're going to come out of tough times and how you're going to handle and relate to tough times. So it's really important. Now, we get past the forward and you get past the contents. The first chapter in this book is called Thought and Character. Thought is so powerful, and I'm going to illustrate this point. The aphorism, a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, not only embraces the whole of a man's being, but is so comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance of his life. A man is literally what he thinks. His character being the complete sum of all thoughts. His character being the complete sum of all thoughts. So how you're relating to this crisis tells you a lot about your character, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the world, what you're projecting, because there's a million different realities out there, but you're going to choose one to live on through the sum of your thoughts, and you're going to see the sum of your thoughts by the way you think and relate to the moment. And it doesn't have to just be COVID-19. It could be, and the shutdown of the country. Maybe you're okay with that, but maybe the way you think, your deep secret thoughts about women, about dating, about your health, what's going on inside of you. And so let that resonate a little bit. I'm going to take that a step further with what I believe to be one of the most powerful and successful men of the 20th century. Let's see here. His name was Walter Russell. And he's an amazing human being. I don't know if any of you have ever heard me talk about him, but he has some deep, deep, deep teachings. And I was kind of doing some research on his understanding of decentration, and I found this little piece that I think fits with what I just said. Because of concentration and decentration. Who signed me out? Somebody signed in on another device and signed me out. Can you still hear me, Anthony?
I can hear you.
Testing, 1, 2, testing.
It's still on, Brian.
Okay, cool. Okay. Do you want to leave this meeting? Cancel. Okay, cool. Yeah, somebody must have signed in with the password. Okay, decentration. But we're not concerned with there's decentration and concentration. It's the balance between the two that you get all your answers. Mind knowing and mind thinking are all that is. So sit with this idea. Mind knowing, the knowingness of the mind, the deep, deep realization or beingness of the mind, and mind thinking are all that is. Okay. And all matter is but an electric record of mind thinking. So all matter is but an electric record of mind thinking. This is the way Walter Russell described the power of your thoughts. And it's a powerful realization when you think about it, that everything is a record or almost a printout of the culmination of everybody's thoughts together. And then we create this environment around us, which leads to an infinite number of potentialities. Some people are thriving right now, and some people are totally scared they're not going to have any money and not knowing what to do. Some people are getting more successful and creating more value in the world. Some people are running and hiding. Some people are doing everything you want to do right now in the midst of this in some way, shape, or form, while other people are limiting their life. And some people are just stuck in the middle waiting for it to end. This is the time to show up. This is the time to develop courage. This is the time to, if you can shine in some way, shape, or form, whether it's monetarily or another way, or just even in creating more love in the world right now, the next time there's a big problem in the world, the more you're going to be able to handle it. So let that resonate for a second. Now that's Walter Russell. There's a huge, I can get deep into him, but now here's another really good book. You've heard me talk about God Works Through Faith. This is a book called God Works Through You. This is also Russell. It's a Dr. Robert Russell. He's a metaphysical Christian, not a fundamentalist Christian, but they had more of a new age, new thought kind of movement thought, the metaphysical Christians. And so you can take out and change the word God to Buddha consciousness, whatever you want to do, which would piss off some of the more fundamentalist Christian. But I want to read this to you really quick, and I want you to see how it relates to the releasing that we've been talking about. It's just a little, I'm going to only read like a couple sentences here and there and discuss it. When the imagined object, this is whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're focusing on. So if you're focusing on healing the planet, you're focusing on creating more money, creating a new job, getting amazing women in your life, when the imagined object produces in you a consciousness of itself, let that word resonate, it will be expressed outwardly in form. Everything you want to create, for it to come into form, has to ultimately create a consciousness of itself that is so imprinted on as Walter Russell talked about, is so imprinted on the mind knowing and mind thinking are all that is, and all matter is but an electric record of mind thinking. So it gets imprinted on that electric record, as he puts it. You know, he was born in the late 1800s, so his terminology is a little different today. But so when the mind object produces in you a consciousness of itself, this is a consciousness that's growing beyond you. It's getting recorded in that electric record. It will be expressed outwardly in form. So think about this. If you take like the Empire State Building, for example, some guy dreamed that up, but it was just a thought in his mind at first, right? But he kept dreaming. He kept mixing it with emotion and passion and turn on and belief. And there were probably a lot of people that told him that's a big undertaking, tallest building in the world at that time. And oh my God, you know what that would take, money-wise, people-wise, resources-wise. Oh my God. Could you imagine how many people probably gave him resistance at first? Or you could translate that to somebody else. I don't know for sure that that's the case, but I could imagine, just even imagining an undertaking like that, you got to have like an Elon Musk kind of mentality. I'm going to do it anyways. And he just kept imagining and believing in it. So pretty soon he has drawings drawn up, and then he has blueprints drawn up, and he enlists other people to think about it with him. And he's got a mastermind of people focusing on the idea of this creation, to the point that the creation outgrows him. Even if he wanted to stop it, it couldn't stop, because there's so much thought being put into it every day, emotion and thought, which then causes a reaction of people wanting to step into tension and create. That stepping into tension is the part where passion kicks in, and we're turning this into a manifestation. Let me see what it's all right. It's all right. Perfect sound quality. The audio quality is perfect for me. So somebody's having trouble with audio, but it's maybe on your end. Yeah, so we're good. Cool. So when the imagined object produces in you a consciousness of itself, it will be expressed outwardly. So this is like an idea that's been born. First, the idea is inside of you, then it goes through a gestation period. These are the laws of the universe, the laws of nature, excuse me. And then from the gestation period, it's birthed outside of you. And that's what you want. You've got to get the perfect balance of concentration and decentration until you hold the object in mind so much, mix it with so much emotion and turn on, that it comes into reality, passion, turn on. Because the turn on is that creative force that moves it from the non-physical to the physical. And now maybe it's a baby, like the Fearless. When Fearless was born, it was a baby, and it was just me and one other guy were talking about it. And we were sitting there thinking about it. We had to enlist more people. And now it's thousands of people strong, if who knows how many. You know, it's bigger than me now. So the next thing I wanted to address in this book, and I want you to see how this book written, I don't even know when it was written. I don't even know if they got the copyright in this reprint. They got a copyright of 2018. That's the reprint date, but the original printing I don't see in here. It's an older book too. So when we look at this book, maybe the 50s, but you'll see how it relates to releasing. They understood all this stuff a long time ago, man. Now he's going to talk about it in Christian terms, so don't let that bother you. It's just think of as Father, as peace, imperturbability, gratitude, love. It's those energies. I love meditating on God. It just opens me. It causes love to come out of my heart like crazy. But that's how my mind sees it. So I and the Father are one. Supply and demand are always equal when God's mind and man's mind are perfectly synchronized. Okay, so that means you're one. And your mind and his mind are in agreement. You're not in disagreement, because consciousness is trying to give you, we'll say God for consciousness, trying to give you what you want. But if you're not synchronized with it, you can't get it. God's work, consciousness's work, is already done. That's the law of polarity. I've talked about that. You can't have a dream without a way to achieve it. You can't have an idea, a burning desire, a divine given desire without a way to achieve it. Your work is to keep your mind positive to the good which he has already bestowed upon you. Already is the key word there. Already bestowed upon you. As soon as you get that burning desire, there is a way to achieve it. The desire can't come into being without the way to achieve it. You just have to move the desire to choice. It moves from wanting, which is extreme desire, but the desire is backed by all this energy. It's different than wanting that's painful. It's like this wanting of something that just wants to be birthed out of you, that's greater than you. Can easily, with all that energy, be moved into this sense of choice. I'm going to make it happen. Was already bestowed upon. So keep your mind positive to the good which he has already bestowed upon you. You do not have to beg for your good, but only to relate yourself to it. You don't have to beg for it. And a lot of people beg. That's wanting, that's needing, that's not being in choice. You just have to realize it. Even a better way to put it is reveal it, which will then lead to realization, which will then lead to revelation, which then will lead to being. These feelings, these are feeling states. When I say these words, each word has a meaning. Revealing is this like subtle, as you let go, you reveal the next layer, and you let go again, and releasing that reveals another layer. And eventually you'll get some realizations. Oh, wow, that's true. Don't get stuck on the realizations though. That's where everybody makes a mistake. Realize it, let it go, and then continue on. And you go deeper with time. You can sit with the realization for a bit, but appreciate it, love it, but don't get fascinated by it by the point you get stuck, because that will eventually lead to revelation, which is a bigger version of realization. It's like this, wow. And that's really easy to get stuck on. Wow, look at this revelation. Look at this revelation. And you get so fascinated and attached to the revelation, you stop growing versus just appreciating and enjoying it till it reveals another layer. And then eventually, as it reveals deeper and deeper, you end up in being. That is a process of releasing. You're being it now. It's a natural expression of who you are because it's been impressed on the subconscious mind through emotion and feeling at a deep, deep level, and you become it. Now, this is really important. I'm going to only read a little bit more, and then we're going to get deeper into this. But since God works through consciousness, so he cannot supply your needs until you cease to be positive to them. He cannot supply your needs until you cease to be positive to them. That does not mean become negative. Listen to the words again. He cannot supply your needs until you cease to be positive to them. He's saying cease to be positive to the need, because the more you're positive to the need, I'll read the next part. If your consciousness of need is greater than your consciousness of God, we could say love, peace, the need must continue to expand under the consciousness. The need must continue. So I'm going to read that whole thing again. You cannot supply your needs until you cease to be positive to them. If your consciousness of need is greater than your consciousness of God, that the need must continue to, I love the word must, continue to expand under the consciousness. So whatever your consciousness is, if your consciousness is about need, want, chasing, and you don't get out of it into choice, then the need has to expand and keep growing, and you get a greater experience of need, wanting, chasing, until it gets so big and you're not getting any realizations because you won't move into the next stage, that eventually it becomes painful and you want to suppress and shut it down. And that's what most people do. We learn to build up these big ones, but then we don't learn how to transmute them into action and being and choice and expectancy and these other energies that are what are going to bring it into your life. If the need is to be supplied, your consciousness must be changed. If the need is to be supplied, your consciousness must be changed. You must lift your vision above the appearance to the fact and keep it there until the truth forms a consciousness of itself in you. So the consciousness of itself, again, you're birthing the idea. It's creating its own consciousness impressed on your subconscious mind that's so impressed that even when you're not thinking about it, you're still feeling it deep down inside. And that's when you're beginning to be it. Your positive attitude towards the negative state must be transformed into a positive attitude toward the positive state. So you start, this is really important. You start with a positive attitude towards the negative state. We start with a positive attitude towards COVID or to your lack of being able to date. And you learn from it. Just like we started these webinars. What are we learning from all this? How are we growing from this? What good can we create out of this? And we just keep focusing on the gratitude and the appreciation, because that's going to turn the positive of the negative state into a positive of a positive state. It's going to switch the whole. This might be the greatest time in your life when the biggest switch happens in your life. I remember I had a negative state once where I thought I was losing everything and my health was really poor. And I spent that year releasing, and it was so scary. But looking back, I realized I turned that into one of the most beautiful periods of time in my life. I loved it. And I look back with such joy and peace. I grew so much, learned so much from it, that I took what was originally a negative attitude towards a negative state, turned into a positive attitude towards a negative state. And then from that positive attitude towards the negative state, I turned it into a positive attitude towards a positive state. The whole state became positive, and then my life just took off like a rocket. And so the subconscious mind builds into your experience those things which are like your consciousness. So when your consciousness sees positivity naturally, you're not forcing it, you're not faking it, you're not putting on a fake smile. Hi, I'm happy, everything's good. But you're truly learning to be like, wow, I feel joy right now. The more powerful your life becomes. I'll just read this part. To me, this is obvious, but people need to hear it. I need to hear it over and over. If you send out impulses of discord, inharmony, discontent, poverty, unhappiness, fear, and worry, you meet these conditions in your life. The kingdom is always in you what you are. The kingdom is always to you what you are to it. It can never be anything else. And that's the line that hit me. It can never be anything else. It's never off. So whatever you're putting out is what you're going to get back. And I'm going to give you an example of this. Me and my sisters, we talk almost every day during this whole thing, and they're having a great time. Both my sisters are having nothing but positive experiences. One of my sisters is working from home as a teacher. She's got tons of time off. She's working on all her goals, building her ability as a coach, and she's just loving it. And every time she talks to anybody, she goes running with her friends, things like that, she talks about how negative they can be and how they just start talking about this is wrong and that's wrong. And she's like, I don't see all of that. And then I have to talk to them for a little bit, and she doesn't have to, but she says I offer. And some of them really are like, wow, I like the way you're viewing this. Other ones will almost try to guilt her into coming down to their level and say, no, this is why it's wrong. And it just doesn't serve. Creating more guilt is going to amplify guilt, which is going to create more fear, which is then going to create more experiences of fear in your life. And so real courage is the ability to stay in cap while other people are, and not be guilted into coming down, is to stay up in courage, acceptance, love, peace, imperturbability, while other people are still being heavy. And then what happens is, through the law of vibration, you're a high vibration, you start to bring them up, and you create more and more inspiration and bonuses in your life and power in your life. You must replace struggle with acquiescence and competition with cooperation. I'm going to end this book at this point, but that's the basic idea. And so when you think about this idea a little bit, it's really powerful. Now, there's an analogy David Nagel likes to use, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to play with it a little bit. And it's just an analogy of how all this works on a more of a scientific level. Or think about a radio. The radio has radio stations on it. There's 106.7, which in Los Angeles is K-Rock. There's 102.7, which in Los Angeles is KISS. There's jazz stations that pick up jazz. All of that's in the air right now around me and around you. And if you can tune that radio dial, which is setting the frequency of the dial to 106.7, you're going to get alternative rock. It's going to come through, and suddenly you're going to hear it. Was it there before you could hear it? Yes. And all you did was tune the dial to the frequency that was on, 106.7. And then what happened was the frequency of the dial matched the frequency of the vibration. And by law of attraction, they were pulled together, and that sound came through the room. Well, that's the same way emotions work. If I switch it to jazz, a station number that has jazz. I don't know what that is. Let's say 88.1. And then suddenly that frequency will match the vibration that the jazz is carried on, and boom, they come together. And then the more people that listen to the jazz station, the more jazz they want to play jazz and create jazz. And the more this feeling of wanting to be around jazz multiplies in your life. This happened to me with country music. I used to hate country music. And I went to this country bar once when I was really young. And I was like, this music's horrible. My friends kept wanting to go back, and I was having fun with them. And so I went back, and I kept having fun with them. And it was, and then I met this girl at the country bar that I really liked. That worked there at the bar, and she was so cute, and it made me want to go back more. Pretty soon I associated, I kept getting into, I kept wanting to go back to this vibration of country music because I was associating with so much pleasure and so much fun. And pretty soon I began to like country music, because the vibration expanded within me. So it's the same thing. As you learn to love courage, and you love peace, and love CAP, and love more and more and more, and appreciate moments of that, the more that will multiply in your life through vibration. And you'll get more and more and more of it. And so much easier you'll be able to deal with the problems in life. Life becomes really easy to deal with at that point. So vibration is a real thing. You see it in the radio, and you see that there's all these different levels of emotion, or of musical stations in the radio. But at the same time, every emotion is available to you right now too. Every experience is available to you right now. Your brain, your subconscious mind is processing millions of bits of data per second. It can tap into, if you tap into the vibration of a certain experience, dating a certain type of woman, they're going to start to show up in your life. But just like the radio stations, they're out there walking around all day long. And if you're not vibrating at a level that they're drawn to, then they're not going to be drawn into you, and you're not going to be drawn to them. You're going to be repelled from each other. Same thing with money. You know, there's a time in my life when I repelled money like crazy, and now money comes to me with ease. It just happens more and more and more because I've opened up to that reality. So, so let that in a little bit. This idea, just play with the idea that vibrations are a real thing, that you are a creature of vibration, that emotions are vibrations, that everything breaks down to a vibration, whether you can logically see it or not, and that the physical is a manifestation of that vibration. It helps you understand. Now, what we want to do is start to develop a healthy vibrational relationship to courage, and to understand how we get there. Now, courage is 50%, as I was taught once many years ago. It's kind of like 50% ag-flap, apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride, and 50% CAP, courage, acceptance, love, peace, imperturbability, all these other emotions. So when you realize that, that when somebody is residing perfectly in courage, that's probably where they're at. Now, that doesn't mean that you couldn't be lower on the scale in your general day-to-day. Where do you reside? Do you reside in fear? Do you reside in anger? Do you reside in love? Do you reside in peace? So just kind of get that idea that what we want to do is build a really strong relationship to what the feeling of courage feels like, because that's our gateway into all these great experiences, into gratitude, love, and joy. Now, to understand that, we got to understand courage a lot better. It's really important that we get a better relationship to courage. Actually, let me pull something up for you guys. Actually, pull it up on here. So playing with the idea of what courage feels like in your body is really powerful. When I first started thinking about what courage felt like, it felt like work. It felt like I have to. I got to go be courageous. I got to go make this happen. And that's not truly courage. See, courage has this sensation of excitement in it, this turn on in it. And the excitement is a representation that there is fear in your body, but the fear is fun. It's like somebody who loves to jump out of an airplane and skydive. It's like, that makes me nervous, but I can't wait to do it. Gonna go approach that beautiful blonde on the corner. It makes me nervous, but I can't wait to do it. Now, if you're going out there going, I'm gonna approach that beautiful blonde because I have to, that doesn't sound like courage to me. That sounds more like you're pushing and you're forcing, and you're like going to make yourself do it. And so we want to welcome this idea of getting a better understanding of what courage feels like in the body and cultivating it. So I had to do a lot of this. I had really good relationship to acceptance, but my courage, the transmuting energy that creates more acceptance and more love, was really poor in me, and I had to develop it out. I had to work on understanding what people that are turned on by courage feel like. They have a healthy relationship to fear. They look at fear, and fear can be fun for them. Fun can be turn on. Fear can be turn on for them. Fear can be stepping into the unknown and creating something new. Fear can be like you're going to go out and play a football game against a bunch of guys that are really good, and I don't know what's going to happen. My team is we're gonna man up, and we're gonna do this. We're gonna get the team together, and we're gonna rally the energy. And whether you win or lose, there's that courage to get out and go do it. That type of stuff. So if you look at a soldier on a battlefield for the first time, let's not say a soldier, let's say a primitive warrior, and he's going out to war, and he steps out on the battlefield for the first time, and he's scared and he's nervous. At fear is if his fear amplifies really big, he's going to draw to him the experience he's most afraid of. So most likely getting shot, or in this case, let's say getting stabbed or with a spear or sword if it's a primitive battle. And but let's say he gets hit. He gets out there. He's scared. He's a little nervous. He gets hit once by somebody and he falls down. And then what happens? This rush of anger comes through him, and he realizes he's reacting to the moment, and he gets up to deal with the situation. Now he's not feeling fear anymore. The anger is of a higher vibration to help him deal with the fear. And as long as he doesn't get reactive to the anger, he's going to continue he's going to keep growing. If he gets reactive to the anger, he can get hit again and knocked back into fear. If he gets proactive with the anger and says, I'm going to use this anger proactively, he can easily move right up to pride, which is the next energy on the list. I can do it. This is going to happen. I'm going to take care of these guys, because now he's got less energy on fear, more energy on driving forward. And that pride can easily be turned into courage, because pride is about win-lose. I'm going to win, you're going to lose. We're going to make this happen. And then if he relaxes a little bit more into it, it can be win-win. We're all going to make this happen. We're going to defend our village from this team. We're going to work as a team. And boom, pretty soon he's in courage. And there's this sense of he's not worried about what's going to happen to him anymore. He's giving. He's like, I'm going to defend my village. I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to show up. And then there's this whole expansion of energy, which then comes into acceptance of his being after it's all over. That's who I was, which will then transmute him for future battles or future difficulties or future challenges. This is the same reason that tribes have initiation rites, right? Like, go out into the woods and survive for a month with a knife. And then when you do that, you become a man. And these initiation rites are about using courage, mastering the ability to use courage to face fear, to face your fear of death. And when you can do that, and you're more in touch with that courageous energy, and you're not buying into all the scariness that's in the world, it's just like there's all beauty in the world. They all exist at once. There's different frequencies. Then what happens is you become really valuable to the tribe. You're one of the ones that gets out there and makes things happen. You're the one that's finding solutions to the COVID-19 problem, creating inspiration, waking up each day excited to help more people, creating more positive results in your life and other people's lives, rather than sitting there at the water cooler or hanging out with your friends or talking with your friends online and bitching about how your life sucks, I don't know what to do, or right down to, I'm just sitting inside and I don't know what to do, I'm bored. How can you be bored? I've got so much to do every day because I create things to do, from these webinars to studying, to creating more material for you guys, to helping you guys to transmute more. So, excuse me. Let me go down a little farther. So I want you guys to start developing a relationship to courage. Understand, now, if you break out Hawkins' book, or you break out, you look up an AgFlap chart online, which comes from the Sedona method, AgFlap cap chart, AGFLAP cap. Let me put this here. Let's do something for you guys. Okay. So hopefully you can all see the whiteboard. Can you guys see it? Right, but put yes in the chat if you can see the whiteboard, guys. Awesome, good. This is the first time I'm using this, so let's make sure it works right. Okay, thank you guys. That's awesome. I love seeing all those yeses. Oops, Let's clear that. I did that different than I like to. Okay. So I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. Wow, this does not write pretty. We'll make it work, guys. Okay, so that's fear. So apathy, grief, fear. Oh, I thought this would work better. Maybe I need to just write in like straight block letters. I'm kind of doing that actually. Anger and then pride. And then the cap energies, courage. I think I'd get better at this, huh? Oh, you know what? I see what's going on. I think I just figured this out. Boom. Maybe not. Let's go back to drawing. I'll have to practice this more later. Maybe I should have just done the letters, guys. And then I get, but I'm already most of the way through it, so. And then love and peace. And then imperturbability. Hey, that P worked. Oh, it's working better now. And then we'll say I for imperturbability. Okay, so if we look at this, this is a sloppy version of the emotional scale. If we look at courage right here, oops, I'm knocking over the laptop. If we look at the courage right here, this is really interesting. What we see here is that courage isn't just one energy, it's a lot of energies. Courage is the feeling of alert, alive. Let's pull up the chart actually right here. And so if I go down courage and I ask myself, what does it feel like to feel alert? What does it feel like to feel adventurous? If you go through your history, this is what Lester Levinson did, and you think about a time you felt courageous, or you felt alive, or you felt alert. He did it with love, but and you can go through, the list is huge, and you can go through the list and you can find words that you can truly relate to and understand, that you have memories of these experiences. You can, yeah, it seems like it's writing with a crayon with a 3-year-old. That's exactly it. And you can go through these experiences and you can find these experiences where you felt like that. Like assured is another one that's a synonym with courageousness, or certain, or cheerful, or clarity. And what I literally did was I would meditate and release or realize realize and sit with the feelings of each of these emotions. And I'd go down until they started to have a meaning to me, a sensation, a feeling in my body. I started to remember times I was decisive, which is one of the key ingredients in courage, is the ability to make a decision and stick to it. I started to remember times when I was enthusiastic, whether it was just one time in my life that I could remember or many. But the more I did that through the law of vibration, which we talked about earlier, the more memories or experiences of that started to appear in my life. And I started to increase that experience. I can, independent, I'm just reading some of them, open, optimistic. Does that sound like something you have to do? This was my old relationship to courage, was this is something I have to do. I got to force myself to be courageous. No, when I looked at courageous and I really started to develop an understanding of it, giving, happy, focused, there was a sense of turn on excitement for what I was going to do. And if you start living more and more from a courageous place, that doesn't mean you don't experience apathy, grief, and fear. Remember, I said courage is kind of half 50-50. It means that from courage, you can look at your apathy, grief, and fear and not take it personal. You can be like, yeah, I'm scared, but I'm going to do it anyways. And I'm gonna have fun doing it, and I'll be a little nervous, and I'll shake it off, and I'll go do it anyways, and I'll do it again until there's a transmutation that starts to happen. Another one of the natural laws, that this area of my life, let's say it's public speaking, approaching women, whatever, starts to transmute into acceptance, to where I don't even have fear anymore. I have love for it. I have appreciation for it. I have joy for it. And that's the key. So mastering this energy of courage is the key to getting up into acceptance. Because think about it. Once you're courageous in the face of something like approaching a beautiful woman enough times, or public speaking, or whatever you're working on, then what happens is that ability to move to acceptance is easy. You've done it 4 or 5 times. You start to accept, this is who I am. I'm a public speaker. I'm a trainer. I'm a guy who approaches beautiful women and gives them genuine, real compliments and makes them feel beautiful. I've done it so many times. It's part of who I am. I'm now accepting it. And then you start to develop a love for it, an appreciation for it. And when you hit peace with it, you just are it. It comes out of you naturally. You don't even think about it. You just make people smile all day long, and people are drawn to you. That's the gateway. So courage is the gateway drug, okay? And I want you guys to master courage. So if you guys all go online and just grab type in AgFlap CAP scale, you'll see the AgFlap CAP chart is what I wrote here. You'll see one will come up, and you can just download it and practice this stuff. Practice exploring, what does it feel like to feel courage? Memories of times you felt it. You can go out on the internet and look for videos of people being courageous, like guys walking on slack lines, or somebody approaching a girl for the first time. You can go read stories of somebody being courageous, and you can start to develop the sense of those feelings in your heart and your gut and your legs. The vibration starts to come out of you. So welcome that idea and kind of sit with it. That is, to me, was one of the most valuable exercises, and I would do that every day. If you're really bad at courage, do it every day for a month. Just sit and go through a few of the emotions and keep experiencing them over and over until you get a real visceral, the key is visceral experience of what it's like to feel and be courageous. Okay. So let me see where we're at right now. Some people are really writing a lot of stuff. Okay, let me look at my notes for this call. So I want to get to some Q&A too. This is another important part. The reason you're on these calls is to develop understanding, develop knowledge and understanding. And that is huge. That is key to being able to develop. That's what I'm asking you to do by working on developing your relationship to courage, by working on developing your relationship to the vibrations you're running, by working on developing the relationship to what's going on. If you're stuck in fear, apathy, and grief, there's a lack of understanding, realization. There's a lack of looking at what's going on and coming to a true understanding of how everything works. An example of that is that if your conscious mind is allowing in, it doesn't understand something, as Bob Proctor would say, it's ignorant. There's an ignorance going on. It's a lack of understanding. Then that creates doubt and worry. Like if you've got a financial problem, let's say you got problems with your bank, your finances every month, and you can't, or a problem with, we do a lot with women, so a problem with dating, but you don't want to look at it. You just keep going out and trying to approach girls. You don't look at why. You don't understand the depth of it. Or in your financial situation, you don't take a look at your ingoing and outgoing money, the stuff Josh taught. What that will do is create worry and doubt and worry, which will then start to amplify. And because you don't want to look at it, you keep pushing it down. Releasing is the act of bringing it up and looking at it, which will then lead to fear. It will amplify into a fear and then create a lot of anxiety, stress, which ultimately, if you don't handle it, you could start to numb out to it and go into apathy and start to push that energy down. And then everything starts to eventually fall apart. Things get worse and worse and worse. And that's what's going to happen literally to a lot of people in this COVID-19 situation. They're not going to understand what's going on. They're going to look at the wrong information that just dramatizes it, amplifies the fear, and doesn't look for solutions. They're going to create more doubt and worry. They're going to create more fear, and they're going to therefore increase anxiety, and they're going to start eventually suppressing, distracting, doing whatever they can to avoid it, which is that then they're going to come out of COVID-19 worse than when they started. Okay. Same thing with I see with guys with women. They don't even want to look at their reality with women. It can't be changed. That's the way it is. Fuck women. That's their attitude. And those people get stuck like that their whole lives. I see women like that towards men too. On the other side, knowledge, understanding. If you don't understand something, you can go learn about it. You can release on it, which will bring more understanding. You can meditate on it, which will bring more understanding. You can start to come to acceptance. Use courage to basically using courage, developing more courage to look at this thing that you don't understand more and more and more till all your fear, doubt, and worry starts to dissolve, and you can get a real understanding of what's going on. You say, I can accept this the way it is. I'm a man. I can handle it. And that's developing true courage and true acceptance. And as you come to that understanding, that develops more faith, more possibility. You start to feel better. And as you start to feel lighter, you start to be able to put love at the situation, like going out and doing webinars like I'm doing and putting love out there and acceptance out there and seeing that this is shifting humanity's consciousness and how can I be of service to it. Then what happens is that expression is the natural, that what you're doing there is expressing out the knowledge and the faith and the well-being. And that creates more ease and more possibility in your life. And the universe, through God, the universe wants to give back based on the level that you're being giving from that place. So that's why understanding is so important. That's why we do all of these videos, to create more understanding. And right now, I want you to understand the value of that line that I drew on the thing here. That line is the point at which you start to change your whole life. When you start to develop a powerful relationship to courage, acceptance, love, and peace, and you start to understand what they literally feel like in your body, and you start to spend more time there, at least 50% of the time or better, there up in the cap energies than you do down in ag flap, your life is going to become so much better. Whether it's dating, whether it's money, whether it's health, it doesn't matter. And because apathy literally is the heaviest emotion here, and it goes in order straight up to peace. Now, when you're releasing, you don't release in order, but you'll just see in order of heaviest to lightest, and that's what basically sets us free. So what we're doing is we're basically vibration machines. And you can see that the courage, acceptance, love, and peace are the lightest vibrations. They're these sweet, loving, light, giving, nurturing, helping, healing the planet vibrations. Apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride are heavy vibrations. And if you check into your body and you get good at meditating, you're going to notice different parts of your body. Is your heart, where's your heart at? Is your heart in love, acceptance, peace? Where are your legs at? Your grounding energy. Where's your stomach at? Does your stomach tighten and go into a lower energy, a lower vibration, or does it open into giving away a personal power and courage? Because that's where a lot of courage will come from, is your stomach. Notice what parts, the different parts of your body are at too, because different parts of your body some parts can be more shut down than others. And that's a powerful realization too. You might need to work more on your back. I did a lot of work on the front of my body. It was open, but I hadn't done enough work on the back, which is really what supports the front to be totally loving and giving. And so the front was trying to do all its own work, and it was wearing it out. So the balance, like meditating on feeling everything, feeling the whole body, and cleaning up the energies in the whole body. But that's kind of a digression. That's another topic as we get into movement and depth of movement and feeling. Okay. So the homework assignment is for you guys to really begin to understand courage, to use understanding to change all the areas of your life that you're scared, and then start to really understand and learn to relate to courage and all the cap emotions if you want, by going and meditating on different aspects of courage, finding courage in your life, finding where courage exists, and learning to every day for the next month, for all of April, to learn to relate to courage, acceptance, love, or peace a little bit better. You can do different emotions every day, but if you have a bad relationship with courage, really develop that courage, because that's what's going to move you into those upper levels. And there's many forms of releasing. I wanted to talk about this too. You don't have to just do the technique I laid out in the releasing class. You can literally sit down and just contemplate and feel into and ask your body, what is courage? Teach me courage, show me courage, and meditate on the feeling of courage and see what comes up. You'll naturally cause releases in that area. You can, this is why reading, you can read, don't think and analyze, but again, reading creates more contemplation. I use contemplation mixed with releasing. I contemplate whenever I get any resistance, I release so I can contemplate deeper. It's a very powerful process, and it's one that I love to do, so that I'm literally changing my vibration. And one of the most important places you want to use this courage, acceptance, love, and peace to create imperturbability is you want to use it in your day-to-day. When you get up in the morning, how do you feel? Do you wake up in the morning somewhere down in fear or apathy? Do you wake up down here? If you do, then you want to get to where, as quickly as possible, do a process so that you're up in courage, not because you're eating your favorite meal, drinking your coffee, just because you got out of bed and you're able to move yourself there. When you're walking down the street doing nothing, can you get into courage and acceptance? Is the basis of your life, when you don't have anything, when you're not going after a major goal, is the basis of your life filled with these energies? Then you want to start putting it into each goal. How do I develop, maybe like my day-to-day, I feel beautiful, but when I go after my goal of starting a business, I go into fear. That's where you take that basis of beautiful, and then you use that energy to transmute the fear of the goal. It's going to be so much more powerful. But if you're trying to shift the reality of the goal, you got fear around your goal and you got fear day to day, it's going to be really hard to shift that goal up the emotional scale, because you don't have a relationship to the upper portion of the emotional scale. Okay. And again, you don't have to do it with the releasing course, although we put a little mini releasing course online, like an hour or 2-hour version the other day, but you can just do it through meditation, through contemplation, through meditating on times you felt these emotions and just sitting with them until they expand in your life, because what you focus on ultimately has to expand. And if you're good at just sitting and accepting a 1% increase in courage every time you meditate, within a short period of time, 30 days of meditation, you could have a massive shift in your relationship to courage in life. Okay, awesome. That was a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys are getting some value out of this. It's weird when I teach this stuff, because this is like how my mind processes. I process all these deep thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And I'm constantly contemplating them and trying to go deeper. And then I want to make sure they translate to you, and that I'm not getting too abstract with some of this stuff. Okay, guys, I see some of you are writing some deep questions on the chat. Put that into the Q&A box if you haven't already. I'm going to go over there in a second. The chat is for you guys to kind of talk and discuss, and for me to ask quick questions of you, and also for the coaches to answer questions for you guys. If they can answer a question in there, they will. And we were talking, actually, I want to ask you guys, if we were to do an online releasing course, a full-blown one, like 3 days of training with breaks and everything, or everybody sits at home and we all chat and do it together, is that something you guys would be interested in? Put it in the box right now. Okay, awesome. Now I want to ask another question. If we were to do an online dating course based on these energies, purely about dating and being better, and you could do it all from home, and we did video demonstrations of talking to the models and things like that, and grounding, and is that something you'd be interested in? Okay, awesome. Okay, guys, then yeah, there's gonna be multiple. I've seen it done. Bob Proctor does it. He does these multiple day seminars where he'll talk for 2 days, 3 days at a time. And they'll have a full workshop format. You guys are at home watching him on stage, and he'll take lunch breaks and bathroom breaks and all that stuff, but have a full seminar where you guys are sitting at home. So if that's something you guys want to do, we've been playing with it, and we were playing with it last night, how we can do it with Zoom. And there's some amazing stuff we can do with Zoom. And so, so awesome. We're going to start moving in that direction, I think, at least this month while everything's going on. Okay, guys, let's jump over to that Q&A box. Thank you for those answers, by the way. Switch my screen around a little bit so I can see your Q&A, your questions a little better. I got multiple screens here, guys. Okay, Bao. On my releasing process, when I let go of the sad emotion, or of the sad emotion, I feel like crying a lot. So will I focus on? I laugh because that's perfect. I feel like crying a lot. So will I focus on crying to let it all out, or will I focus on the letting go question and more? Welcome whatever comes up. Welcome it until the process is done. If you need to cry as you go do your release on the sadness and you welcome up the sadness, crying itself is a form of a release. Let yourself cry. It's in the grief category. See, in apathy, you're in numbness and shutting down. Grief, you're in this grief is all about attachment to something. And the crying is the releasing of that attachment, the releasing of the attachment to your puppy after it died, the releasing attachment to an old relationship, and the crying processes all those attachments out of your body. So if you need to cry for 10 minutes straight, let yourself cry. Now, stay out of a dramatic cry for attention. Just feel and let your body weep as it wants to weep. Okay. Omar said, "How old are you, Brian?" I'm 51. A lot of people don't know that. I've said it on a few videos, and people usually get surprised. I think once in a while I run into somebody it's not. I plan to only get younger and younger and younger as I get older. That's my goal right now, at least for a while, until to the point of diminishing returns. We'll see. My second question from Bao, can you, I got it, Brian. Can you turn off? Oh yeah, I'm gonna turn off that screen sharing. Good point. Thank you, guys. We're figuring all this out as we go. We'll get better and better at it with time. Okay, there, screen sharing is off. You are lying. Are you talking about me and my age? So my second question, can you suggest some ways to focus more on releasing process because I feel so sleepy? When you feel sleepy, a lot of times it's apathy. What happens is apathy is the shutting down or the turning down of energy, and the body wants to fall asleep. It's a form of distraction from the process. So because the body wants to keep you safe, so it doesn't want you doing this releasing when you're in apathy. We shut all this down. We push it down for a reason. You're trying to open Pandora's box, that beautiful metaphor about Pandora's box. And I remember being in class one time with one of my mentors, and we were all sitting there, and one of the other students, and this happened to me too, by the way, but I remember specifically this one, one of the other students was falling asleep, and he kept falling asleep over and over, and he'd fall asleep in every class. And the teacher, Carl, said to him, stop falling asleep. And the student said, I can't control it. I'm falling asleep. And he said to him, okay, I'll tell you what, if you start to fall asleep or one more time in this class, I'm going to ask you to leave, and I don't want you to come back for a year because you do it all the time. You do it on a regular, you need to get control of it. And the rest of the class, he was wide awake. And the teacher pointed out at the end, see, you did have control over it the whole time. You just didn't think you did. You didn't own that reality strong enough. Now, that's using courage to pierce because the energy came up in his body when he got pressured enough, and he used the courage to pierce the apathy and show up anyways. That's a skill set that can be learned. So just start to welcome, and another way you can do it is see if you can welcome component parts of the apathy. Get to know apathy better. That releasing chart I talked about, read through and look at all the different forms of apathy that are out there and find one that you can actually do releasing on. A big one for me was resignation. I couldn't release on the word apathy. It just meant nothing to me. But the word resignation, oh my God, I got releases one after another. It was like this weight being lifted off me. And then I could start to feel more. And that was huge. Nicholas writes, hi, everyone, in the Q&A. That's for the chat, buddy. Write that one in the chat. Tomir, hey, Brian, how would you recommend organizing my day, considering I have certain areas I want to improve? Health, wealth, women, relationships. Each area has sub-goals, and those sub-goals have what could I do today to move forward to do that sub-goal? Having a problem putting it all organized so I won't miss anything. Okay, this is an interesting one. I used to do a lot of this too. And And what you got to really do is you got to ask yourself what you really want. And there's first off, understand the 25-5 rule, and create your own version of it, whether it's 25-6, but fine. It's a rule set by Warren Buffett. And what he said was he would write down the 25 things he most wants to do and most wants to create, his 25 top goals. And then he put them in order of most important to least important. Then he took the top 5 and separated it. So now he has 5, and then he has 20 other ones and what he said was, I put all my energy into the top 5, and my whole job now is to resist looking at the other 20. Don't even look at them. Put them aside. They're not important right now. Those top 5 are what's important, because if I put all this energy into all 25, I'm not going to get anywhere in life. Like I said earlier, you can't do anything, but you can't do everything, but you can do anything. That's the key. Understand that. It's powerful realization. So let that kind of set for a minute. 25-5. So it doesn't mean you'll never get to anything on the 20 list. You might accomplish a goal that's in the top 5. 1, 2, in time, you'll start accomplishing, and you can start moving those other ones over. But if you try to do them all at once, they won't get there. That's number 1. So you know the goal. You have your 5 goals or whatever there's going to be. Maybe you want to do 6 for some reason, or maybe you want to do 3. I remember I've told the story of Mark Zuckerberg. He just does 1 and focuses on it intently. Okay, so now you got your goals. And then within the goal, you've got your action steps that you can do today. Not action steps you're going to do tomorrow, next week, someday. Not a goal, not an action step that's so big it's not an actual action step. Like you might have an action step that's create a marketing plan. Well, that's okay. What is it? What but what you can do today is research a good marketing funnel that I can, or maybe I can start an Instagram account, create a web page, or I can, what is it that you can, what's an action you can actually do and mark off your list today? So you got your goal and you got your action step leading toward, and the action step is going to be an initiative leading towards the goal. You can even have your sub goals written down and you can read them and affirm them every day. But the key is in that action step. You keep doing those action steps and you don't worry about all the steps between you and the goal. The goal is just literally a pointer of experiences you want to have. The goal itself doesn't matter. It's the experiences you get on the way to the goal. So it's all about, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do right now? What's speed of implementation? What's another thing I can do right now? Not something I'm going to do tomorrow or something that's so big I can't do it. Something I can do right now, and just keep doing those things. And then every day, as you do each one, ask yourself, does this take me even 1% closer to my goal? Does this take me even 1% closer to my goal? Or am I distracting? Am I starting to do an action step that takes me away from one of my major goals? Okay, is it taking me one step towards my goal? And you just run it through that filter all the time. And you keep doing it. Now, if you get an intuitive gut feeling, do this action step, and it's like a divine burning desire inside you, and you're not sure that it leads to the goal, I would do that one anyways. Because if you know it doesn't lead to your goal and you're just doing it to distract, that's one thing. You got to learn the difference in these feelings. But if you feel like it's taking you somewhere and it's exciting and it's interesting, and there's something about it, it might be taking you on a diversion to meet somebody you need, have an experience you need that's going to ultimately give you the goal. So that's the one caveat to that. And as you do this more and more, you'll get better at discerning those feelings in your body, because your body has all these vibrations that's going to give you feedback. And the more you're in CAP, the more you're going to understand the feedback. If you're in AgFlap, a lot of your feedback is going to push you away from the goal, especially the bottom part. Apathy, grief, and fear. When you go to take action, you'll actually, like, I go to try to make money in apathy, and I tend to repel money. I go to meet girls in apathy, and the girls run the other direction. And all my intuitive instincts tell me to do the very things that don't work. Okay. So I just want to check on that. Is there a Q&A box? There's a Q&A box. Kadir is asking that question, guys, if you can help him out with that. I think one of you already did. Maybe it was Rudy who answered the question. Cool. Okay, cool. So let's continue on. What is decentration? Decentration is there's the feminine and the masculine. Concentration is the masculine, decentration is the feminine. And so when I concentrate, I can focus so well. And this is a great exercise for all you guys that can't meditate, can't focus, take a candle or a dot, put it on a piece of paper and just focus on it. And every time your mind starts to wander, come back. Do that for 10 minutes straight. Mike, who is on this call, I had him do that. And I remember it used to be torture for him because his mind would wander so much. Did you ever get really good at that, Mike?
I got way better than I was when I started, that's for sure. And it became enjoyable.
Oh, nice. So it went from painful to enjoyable, right?
Yeah.
Remember you complaining about how painful it was. You would do it every day. 10 minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes. Sometimes I think I went 15, but mostly 10. Yeah.
And that's a powerful, thanks, Mike. That's a powerful practice because your mind will want to wander and you just keep coming back. You keep coming back. Now, decentration is the ability to relax that focus. And if you relax it wide enough, you're taking in everything, not just one specific, like, I'm going to make this happen. Decent concentration is the act of concentrating an idea so concentrated that it's going to come into physical form, potentially. Decentration is the idea of taking everything in and going into a receiving nature and allowing everything to come in and taking in and learning and contemplating. And that's where realizations come from. Okay. And typically to bring anything into being and to grow and to release, you need to be able to balance between decentration and concentration. Because sometimes you need to have realizations, revelations to have the deeper understanding to go to the next level. And sometimes you need to, but if it gets too loose, everything falls apart. And other times you need to focus so much that because you're being distracted so much, you need the right amount of like decentration, concentration for that focus will hold it in form until it physically comes into form. Hold it into like almost an energetic, or as Walter Russell would say, an electric energetic form. An electric form, I think is what he called it. And that's what brings it into reality. So the balance between the two. So practice, you can even practice with the dot, decentrating, taking in everything around the dot without losing awareness of the dot. I can see the whole space and I can feel it all and just let it all in and see how it all relates to the dot. Then you can go back to concentration where you're really focusing on the dot without losing the awareness of your body. You got to maintain that flow and awareness of your body. How does the dot affecting the feeling in my body? And then go back to wide again. You can go back and forth and do a few minutes on each. It's very powerful. But at the same time, your mind doesn't wander to start thinking about what you're going to have for lunch. And it doesn't wander to thinking about how you're going to, unless the thing that pops into your mind relates to the decentration, the growth. Walter, okay. Can you explain decentration again and how it relates? We just did that. How it relates to concentration. Don't quite get it. Just went through that one. Miklos, does asking what it is the next step I can take now and doing it move you from wanting to choice? Yes, that's the whole idea of it. Wanting, a lot of times you're stuck in wanting because you're seeing the whole picture and you're trying to figure out how to bring this whole picture together. Like this big, I want to have this multi-million-dollar company, and I've never even made a sale, and it just seems daunting and overwhelming. And then the wanting gets greater until eventually you throw it all away because the wanting is being associated with pain. But what you can do is make a decision to make a choice now. Like, I want this multi-million-dollar company. I'm going to invest as many beautiful emotions into the idea. And then I'm going to just set that goal aside, say, what step can I make now? Well, first I got to decide what my business is. So I'm going to research businesses. I'm going to take a look at something that I have passion for. In my case, the thing that came up that was obvious was hypnotherapy, because I was already a certified hypnotherapist. So I said, okay, I like the idea. Let's go do it. Now, what's the first step I can take? So I said, okay, what's the first step? I'll put it out to my friends that I'm going to do this now. I'm going to really do this for once. And then what happened was, I'd already been a hypnotherapist in the clinic working for somebody else. What happened was a friend called me up and said, I don't work with minors and I have this kid that wants to do some work. I want you to take it, because I put the message out. That was my first sale. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'll work with the minor as long as I get an okay from his mother. And his mother came down, signed off on it. And I did the first session. And he's still a friend of mine today. He's not a kid anymore, and he did fantastic. And then I said, okay, where's my next sale? I need another sale. I need 2 or 3 clients. And then I went out and started creating business cards and more marketing materials. But the first thing I focused on was getting those sales, so I had an actual business operating. And once I had 2 or 3 clients that I had worked with, and I didn't even care the amount of money. They could have paid me very little. I was fine. I just wanted to get the operation going. And then I started modifying and changing it. And it's because of that that all of this is here today. You see what happened? But the original, if I had sat there and just focused all day on the image of having everything I have today and saying, how do I bring that into being now? How do I make that happen? No, I had to have faith and trust and belief that that was going to happen if I keep taking the next step. What's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? And boom, it came into reality. And then along the way, I kept contemplating, feeling, releasing all the resistance, dropping all the resistance, creating, and every success led to more courage and more acceptance of my new reality. And it's still happening today. Every success is creating more courage. This whole month off on COVID is creating so much more courage and acceptance about the power and the ability of this business to grow huge and to grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and to change more lives and create a bigger, more powerful reality. And I can just continue to do more and more of what I love. Okay, we got another one. Is this Philip? I don't know. How do you say that? What is the difference between what you're talking about now and fantasy? Thoughts about, I don't know at what time you wrote this at 11:27. I don't know what I was talking about that time. Thoughts about something you want to see manifested in your life can also be very stressful and imply a lack. Yes, they can. And that's why you've got to understand the difference of feeling lack and wanting and chasing. I read about it in the beginning, and the difference of feeling choice and action and what you can do right now to move a step closer so you get a sense of satisfaction. I also highly recommend people develop the feeling of faith, belief that something is coming. Faith is a form of expectancy. It's going to happen. It's done already. There's a really good book, God Works Through Faith, that I think is written by the same guy that wrote God Works Through You. And that book is such a good primer, subconscious programmer, and the feeling of this idea that something is going to happen. It's going to come into your life. And so the difference between fantasy for me is when I fantasize, and this is something that I kind of figured out on my own. If I sit there and fantasize and shut my eyes and create an alternate reality, an alternate universe that's not in this physical world, I can do that all day and it feels good, but it doesn't bring it into physical reality. I have to imprint the idea on the subconscious mind and the body. Okay. So I have to take that idea that I've created up here in this alternate world that feels so good, because there's no tension there. It's an alternate world. And I have to start feeling it in the body, and I bring it down. I feel it in my head and I concentrate on it. I speak it, and I can create this. I start to fall in love with it with my heart. I feel it in my gut, where my gut brain is. I feel it in my hips, where my turn on for it is. I feel it in my grounding. I bring it through the whole body so that it's coming from this fantasy reality, which is like a staging ground where I mold it, and then like a blueprint, and then I bring it in until my body is buzzing with the idea. And then I project it out into the literal physical world as if it's a 3D image. If you've ever seen guys do Qigong when they're playing with these balls of energy, I start modeling and seeing this reality. And then I just keep letting go of anything that's not there, any resistance. There's going to be a lot of resistance through the body, and that's your stories and your beliefs coming up. That's a bigger process. We teach a lot about it in the workshops, but it's very powerful. But literally just taking the fantasy and feeling it in each part of the body until each part of the body feels good, until your whole body is buzzing and tingling and warm and fuzzy around the idea of creating this, causes the body to want to move and bring it into reality. It moves it from fantasy to reality. In my mind, I've reprogrammed my mind to believe, this may be crazy to you, to believe that the physical reality is just a printout of the energetic reality. I believe there's imagination, then there's the energetic reality, like a holodeck in Star Trek, or like this world that's energy first, and then the physical reality is always catching up with that energetic reality. And you can create the energetic reality like that. The question is can you hold it in form long enough and keep thinking about it, enjoying it, getting turned on for it, that it starts to embed itself into the subconscious mind so deep that it has to come into physical reality, because now you don't have contrary thoughts to it anymore. Like a lot of people will create an idea, but then as soon as they stop meditating on it, focusing on it, their mind goes right to, yeah, that'll never happen. That's too hard. That's too difficult. Start shooting it down. If you do enough of this, maybe you have to meditate for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, but eventually it starts to solidify itself by being impressed so deeply into the subconscious mind that even when you're not thinking about it, you still feel pretty good about it. You still feel excited. You still feel turned on. And that's when it's going to start coming into reality. Okay. These are short answers of stuff that I do long teachings on, guys, to really get it down. But with these short answers, they're enough for you guys to really seriously change your life, because that's what I started with. Hey, Brian, I was reading the chapter of fear in Letting Go by Hawkins. Good. I keep rereading those emotions, understanding them. And this is really important. Don't make the lower emotions bad or wrong. You want to see them as good, that they each have a purpose. And the more you see them as good, the more you'll transmute and start to live more and more in the upper scale, because you won't have any attachment, or in this case, aversion to the lower emotions. You don't want aversions to them. If you feel fear, great. What am I learning from it? How am I growing? Okay. And then pretty soon the fear goes away and it goes back to courage, because you had no resistance to it. Okay. How would you go about letting go of fear? Would you start by letting go of the small fears and gradually go from there? Or would you look at one of your bigger fears and stay with it, love it, accept it for days and weeks until it naturally goes away? I always start with the smaller ones. I want to get a lot of successes under my belt and prove to myself that I can release. So I'll walk on the street and little things that bother me, 1%, 2%. So I just start releasing like crazy at all of that stuff. And then when I go for the bigger stuff, you can just sit there for a week and welcome the bigger stuff, and then see if you get so comfortable with it that you can just release it. But you can also start to break that up into smaller pieces itself. You can start to see that all the bigger stuff is composed of different stories, thoughts, and emotions. And if you start to see all those subtle thoughts and emotions, you can start to pull a little bit here. They're called, Hawkins calls them component parts. Look at all the places he talks about break up its component parts. You're going to also notice other emotions getting created when you go to work on fear. So let's say I go to work on the fear of something, and the more I release on it, the more angry I get. Anger is higher on the emotional scale. Frustration is a form of anger, right? So it's wanting and anger mixed together. So you feel frustration, you feel anger, and as you go to release, that's a reaction to the fear. That's energy being given to your body to handle the fear. But what most of us do is we get angry, and then we get angry at ourselves, we get angry at somebody else, we get angry at releasing, and we use the anger to make something wrong, which is then pride. And that gets us stuck. So what you can do instead, as soon as you feel that anger, start to acknowledge it, welcome it, say, wow, I'm angry or I'm frustrated. Can I use this anger proactively instead of reactively to face this fear and feel it more? I'm going to use the anger, fully feel this fear. Come on, let me feel it, bring it on. And then just sit with it and watch. It's like a fire that'll start burning off some more of the fear, if not all of it. And that's when you're quickly turning your anger into more courage. You're actually reframing the anger into more courage right there. And with each success of that, you get stronger and stronger. Oops, let's go back up. I just messed that up. Or past all that. What is the difference between what you're talking about now? Oh, I think I just already read this too, huh? I hit the button, I screwed up where I was at. Okay.
I think you're with Eagles right now.
Yeah, I saw that, and then the screen shot away, and there's multiple questions from him. So, okay, here we go. What is happening when I think about guilt? It shows up instantly, but when I do with abundance, for example, it shows up instantly. But when I do with abundance, for example, it takes some time to get one dot feeling of it. I don't understand the question. Do you get the question of that, Anthony?
I agree with what is happening when I think about guilt. It shows up instantly, but when I do, for example, it takes some time to get one dot feeling of it. No, I don't understand it fully. I'm actually going to do it by myself. Yeah, I think you're gonna have to ask that one again. I don't quite understand the question. It's a little confusing. So I appreciate that. I'll go look it down here at the bottom. I'm trying to rush through these. Let me check the time. I'm having a good time today. So
Okay, cool. I meant to originally keep these like an hour, hour and a half, but we just keep going. You guys are on here. We keep a good crowd.
Hey,
So
I understand people's questions. You want to answer it? I kind of what he's saying.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so he's saying that when he thinks of guilty.
You hop on and just talk.
Okay.
I'm gonna mute myself.
Yeah, so kind of understand Miko's questions a little bit better. And what it's saying here is that when he thinks about guilt, he can feel it right away. But when he thinks about abundance, he can't feel anything in relation to it, not even a little dot. So I guess the question is, how does he learn how to build up a feeling around abundance?
You want to answer it?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And the way I would do that is to think of a place in your life where you felt abundance about something, whether it's abundance in a material thing, a resource, money, what in your life do you have an abundance of? And then kind of start to find a relation to how that feels and see if you can start to feel like that around money, or even just feel more of what you do have abundance of in your life, and let that feeling kind of just build up over time. So that way you have a very clear feeling of what it means to be abundant, and then start to bring the money aspect into that and release around. I don't know, you didn't even say money, but I'm assuming money for some reason. That's what I think about when I think about abundance. But, again, find a place in your life where you have abundance. And everybody has a place that they're abundant in something. They might not be recognizing what it is, but I guarantee you there is something that you're probably not seeing. I think another great way to do that is to do maybe a gratitude journal, or, that'll start to really pull up things that you realize that you do have in your life that you might not be looking at closely. How about you, Brian? What do you have to say about that?
You're gonna have to mute yourself so I can talk, so we don't get feedback. We're almost in the same room. So I'm gonna mute you. I agree with Anthony completely. That look, sometimes you guys are afraid to consistently focus on something that's a little heavy. So let's say you're trying to feel abundance and it feels numb. But if you keep welcoming and seeing that the numbness is just resistance to the numbness, to the abundance, because your subconscious has been protecting you and taking care of you at a different stage of your life, and that you're now going to grow out of it. You keep welcoming that. It might take a day, 2 days, a week, but you'll eventually feel something. You're going to feel 1%, 2%. You can also read books on abundance and listen to people talk about abundance. And as soon as you get inspired or feel grateful or feel turned on or feel excited by their abundance, you can start to develop the ability to understand what feeling abundant feels like. You could watch like The Secret, or you could watch somebody that would biography, somebody that's really positive and has a lot of abundance in their life, and start exploring what abundance feels like for them, and say, can I feel that in my own body? Read a book about abundance or something abundant. Go out and see things that are abundance. Look, ask to see abundance in the world. When you walk out into the city of LA, there's so much abundance all around. It's absolutely ridiculous. You could go to some place like the Getty Center, and you can see the abundance all through the Getty Center. You could go up into Beverly Hills and see the abundance all through there. All it is somebody's consciousness has related to that area so much so that it shows up in their life. It's not like they've done anything special, anything you can't do. They just did a study of what it feels like to feel abundant, and then the abundance comes into their life. And then there's more aspects to abundance. It's understanding how to give it away and to keep bringing it in like water through a hose, and giving it away, creating a cycle. And that's where we'll talk about that when we get deeper into money realities and stuff like that at some point. Okay, cool. Mohammed, how do we know that in which vibration we are right now, and how can we change our vibration consciously? What do you feel like? And if you don't really know what you feel like, I would develop that ability. But what are your results like? What kind of reactions are you getting in the world? Are you experiencing a lot of anger? Is there a lot of anger in the world? Are you experiencing a lot of numbness? You experience a lot of nothingness? I mean, it's an interesting question. It makes me think possibly there's a lot of apathy in your life if you're not aware of your emotional state. But your emotional state is the physical manifestation of your vibration. A heavier vibration is going to have a heavier emotional state, like apathy. A lighter vibration is going to be like peaceful, is at the top of the scale, Anger is somewhere in the middle. And so these are just, it's the energy wants to flow completely free, and that's peace. It's just flowing and expressing itself, right? And then as you constrict it more and more, the energy gets heavier and heavier because it's pushing more on the constriction, all the way down to completely shutting off the constriction of that flow. Like if I'm squeezing a hose off, and then the energy can't go through, and that's apathy and numbness. So learning to feel all the emotions on that emotional scale, doing contemplation exercises, welcoming exercises. I've done a lot of welcoming of every emotion on that emotional scale to develop the ability to feel them, so I can develop emotional awareness. So then I can start to stop making them all right and wrong, which then moves me up the emotional scale. Okay. Brian says, I have trouble recalling past memories and emotions. What do you suggest to help me with this? It's some type of apathy, probably some type of protection. Maybe there was some trauma. It could also be hormonal too. A lot of, but see, in my opinion, when my hormones were off, and I had a lot of problems with memory too, there's certain hormones that relate to memory too. Particularly, I can't remember, I was just reading about them the other day. But like I've brought my iodine to get my thyroid working better up. I've brought my testosterone up drastically. I brought my DHEA up, and not artificially. I'm working on doing it all naturally. Progesterone, all of these hormones have a lot to do with how you function. But I personally believe that my hormones are repressed because of my depressed psychological development. Allowed a lot of disease and problems into my life that repressed all these hormones. So as I'm cleaning everything up, and I'm always cleaning up, the body's getting healthier, all this stuff's getting in balance, I'm getting more passionate, I'm getting more alive because these hormones are coming into balance. And then my memory is getting better too because these hormones are coming into balance. So it's kind of a chicken and egg, you know. Do I go fix the hormones, and do I fix the mental? And I think if you do a little of each, eventually you'll reach the point where you don't need to do, you know, whatever you clean everything up, and it just gets there faster and faster and faster. So as far as memory goes, a lot of welcoming all your stories about your memories. Just kind of sit with them for a few days, a week. Like notice you probably have a lot of thoughts. I can't remember things. I can't do it. I'll never remember it. And just keep welcoming those thoughts, and then the emotion that goes with it. And the emotion's probably pointless, heavy, apathetic. You can look at the emotional scale and decide which emotional range it's in. As soon as you get used to feeling it, then you can start to welcome all the right and wrong, the good and bad you're making, all the emotions, and start to let those go. And as you let go of more and more of the emotions, different emotions will come up. And as you get lighter and lighter, your memory will start to improve, or resources will show up to help you fix your memory. Like, and sometimes it's like, you get a blood test right at that time because you were open to going out and doing more work on yourself because you're out of apathy, and then you see a solution. I've done that so many times, it's ridiculous. Okay. Let's go down to Alec. How many more do we got here? Alec, are peace and death the same? I had a deep release and had a realization that there is a formless quality to each of them, and they felt like two sides of the same coin. I think that death is the ultimate fear, and when I can accept it, I will be left with peace. It depends on how you relate to death, because death is an interesting word. Somebody the other day said death is just birth. I mean, it's two sides of the same coin too, right? And what he meant by that is it's nothing can be destroyed, and everything only changes form. So the act of dying is just changing form and being birthed into something new. The question is, am I conscious and aware of it? You know, but in science, we know that your energy is just transforming. So death is actually a birth into a new experience. So death is birth, and so it's an interesting question. So you could say it's possible. I could easily see where peace and death are the same thing. But then there's also, what is death? But the wanting for death is the wanting for it all to stop too. Not death itself, but the wanting for death is the wanting for it all to stop, which it doesn't stop. You are reborn into something else. So you see what I mean? So it's an interesting question you have there. And who knows, maybe death isn't formless. When we transform into maybe there's a form we take, maybe there's not. These are all unknowns. So it's more of a philosophical question, a deep contemplative question. And for most people, the biggest fear is, I think I'd say there's a bigger fear than death, and that's abandonment by everybody, like being unwanted. That's why I think people are more afraid of public speaking than death. They say that public speaking is actually the number one fear because it's the fear of mass abandonment. And mass abandonment usually in primitive times would mean death. If the tribe kicked you out and you had no place to go and you had to survive on your own, you'd probably die, but you'd die slowly and alone and unwanted. And you see why that might be a bigger fear to the subconscious mind than just dying and having a good life and dying. So let's see, for time's sake, we got a lot of questions left. It's been a great, about 47. Ooh, can't get to all these guys, so I'm gonna do my best here. Xavier, I'm gonna answer your one, see, and then I'm gonna go look for people I haven't answered questions for yet and get a couple of those done. In getting better with women, letting go of error correcting and letting your body make the mistakes is going to make, when talking with a woman, seem key. So to get out of your own way, at least with simple things and perhaps human communication, you have to set the intention and then let your body carry out the task for you. Would you agree, Brian? Yes, that's exactly right. And you need to let your body fail because it's going to fail a lot as it overcorrects and undercorrects, just like learning to ride a surfboard before it gets it right. And you can't make those overcorrections, undercorrections wrong. You just have to laugh and have fun with them. Right now, I'm working on how to balance setting the intention versus letting my body go do the thing. So when talking to a woman, letting my body handle it for me, but say learning electrical engineering, trying to find the balance between explicit thinking, language, and implicit and conscious thinking. Activities in the mind that involve no language, such as conveying facial expressions and feelings. I'm not sure what the question was in the last part. I don't think there was a question, it's a statement. Setting the intention versus letting my body do the thing. Yeah, you got to do both. There's always two things. There's the goal, the masculine, and then the surrender, the feminine. And the feminine is the ride you go on. The masculine points you in the direction of the ride you want to have, right? So if I set a goal, I'm going to set a goal that's way out there beyond the experiences I want to have. And that goal is going to force me to have all these experiences. But that's what I'm really going for, is the experiences, not the goal. If I get the goal, great. If I don't, and I get halfway, that's great too. Because I'm ultimately having all the experiences I want to have in life. So the goal is a pointer in a direction. Without the goal, I'll wander off who knows where, and I'll have who knows what experiences. So the ability to hold the goal, focus, and then decentrate enough to let all the experiences in. And then sometimes when you start to lose the focus a little more. And then as soon as you got to hook back in, re-decentrate until it becomes automatic and impressed into the subconscious mind through emotion, feeling. And so when I get on the surfboard, the goal is to learn to surf, maybe just to be able to stay up on the board right now. And maybe the bigger goal is to become a great surfer, maybe a pro surfer, who knows? And I'm a little kid and I want to be a pro surfer. But I get on that board and the first thing I want to do is learn to have fun being bad at surfing, falling down, crashing, because bad is relative anyways, laughing, falling off the board. And the more I can do that and practice doing crazy stuff, like overcorrecting and standing, like maybe I'll get so frustrated, I'll do some stupid stuff and ride the board in a funny way just to get my brain laughing again. And then what happens, the brain starts to, the gut brain, the feeling part of the body starts to figure out balance. You don't figure out balance, the body figures out balance. You keep holding the focus and the intention, you keep setting up the will, and the body figures it out through overcorrection, undercorrection, until you start to get into an automatic flow with the idea. Okay, awesome. I don't know what the YouTube is. I can't look at it right now because we just got too many comments, and I'm gonna try to speed answer a few of these. I don't think I've answered one for Kadir, so I'll answer that. Hi, Brian. Up until last summer, I was so encouraged to improve every part of my life, and it worked very well. I was so motivated. I was taking actions and getting results, but last 1 year, I guess saying the last 1 year, I don't have the same burning desire. I like where I am in life, but I feel like I need to grow more. Is that a burning desire to grow more? Or is that like, I need to grow more because that's what I'm supposed to do and it's more egoic? Is it because this burning desire becomes a habit, or is there a period of time in life that you go through a flat line? Do I need another trigger? Well, you got to reset your goal. Maybe the goal you have isn't turning you on anymore. Maybe it needs to be bigger. Maybe you need to increase the size. We tend to flatline when we don't have a clear or clean or exciting or turned on goal. So is the burning desire something you think should be a burning desire, or is it an actual burning desire? If we were to put this in a more spiritual way or a more universe way, is it a divine desire? Is it a desire being given to you and coming through you? Or is it something that you know is purely from your ego and you don't really want anymore, but you're just trying to satisfy your ego? So I would take a look at that. You know, you want to feel your body get invested in the burning desire. And it could be that you just have a story about, maybe you fell down a few times really hard and you need to release all of that because you're afraid to get back on the horse too. So Guy wrote, courage is the acceptance of fear. Man, and you could look at it that way for sure. I'm going to look at this webinar. I just don't get it yet. Courage is think about all the people that love fear. There's guys out there that slackline with no rope and high up in the air. If they fall off, they could die, and they're turned on by it. Think about skydivers. These are extreme versions because they're extreme athletes. You see it, but also think about people that like, you challenge them to go start a certain type of business, and they're like an Elon Musk, and they're like, I'm going to go create the Tesla. I don't care if nobody's ever been able to bring a new car line in and they always get pushed out. I'm going to do it anyways. It turns me on. You know, Richard Branson, I'm going to start a new airline. And even when they're always getting pushed out or bought out or destroyed, put out of business by other airlines, I'm going to do it anyways. And that's powerful realization when you think about it. So the ability to be able to do that and get turned on by it is in the face of fear. The fear drives you. Richard Branson's book is really, if you really want to understand this, go get Losing My Virginity and read his life story and learn how he was taught to love fear. It's all through his childhood by his parents. He was taught to go for it, go for it. He got praised and he got validated every time he went for it. So fear became, courage became his automatic response to fear and turn on, which then is the reason he became Richard Branson and is worth billions today. Okay, so what time is it now? It's 12:45. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go through Ike here. I haven't answered his question. My continuing issue is that I would try one of these exercises, like releasing, to improve my state of being. I would wind up feeling great, but then I would become attached to these good feelings and my brain would take over and cling to these good feelings. Yep. And start judging my success as to how well I'm able to reach or hold on to these same feelings. Yep. That's a problem people have. That's a stage of learning, which turns into a whole shit show. I now see that clinging to good feelings is just as toxic as clinging to bad feelings. Yeah, it's attachment. Buddha said also the source of all suffering is attachment. But how do I do these exercises without being derailed by clinging to these good feelings? By doing exactly what you're doing. You now understand that clinging to anything is the source of suffering. So now you can start the practice of catching yourself whenever you're doing it and then observing the clinging, as you call it, the attachment, the wanting to cling, the wanting to get it right, the wanting to hold on to it, and then feel where your body's clinging, where your body's going to be constricting someplace, and then see if you can relax and open. That's the release. It's not doing something, it's doing less. Can I welcome the clinging? Can I sit with it for a little bit? And then can I relax and open and then let the flow start again? And that's how you're going to get past it. The key to all these emotions, even the good emotions, I've said this before, people hate hearing this, is you've got to let them go. I don't care if it's peace, constantly let it go. Everything has to come through you and comes through you and is surrendered back out in the environment, given away to the world, and then it comes back to you and grows. It comes back to you and grows. If you try to stop that cycle, you will kill the energy and it will start going back down the emotional scale every time. Okay? You are not meant to hoard things. You are meant to cycle things. If you put a bunch of money under your mattress, it will lose value. Okay? Over time, over the long term. That was a great question. Colin, I don't think I've answered one for you. Can you release on each component of CAP when reloading on goals? Reloading. Can you release onto each component of CAP when reloading on goals? For instance, having abundance with women, I release on the courage to approach, acceptance, and peace in order to release indifference to outcome. Can you release on each component of CAP when I'm not sure what you mean by this, when reloading on goals? For instance, having abundance with women. You can release on everything. I just talked about that. Release on the courage to approach. Yep. You can welcome, let go, and then let it go and give it out to the world. And then it'll probably turn into more acceptance. Then if you keep releasing on the acceptance, it'll eventually turn into peace. In order to, and the more you do that, the less indifference will be there. And indifference, to create, there's a difference between indifference and indifference to outcome. Difference to outcome is when you're free, released of attachments. Indifference is when you have a lot of attachments. They're the opposite of each other. Sorry, I'm gonna have to pass you up. I kind of want to answer. I haven't answered one for Daniel yet. I think we're gonna answer 2 more and call it. Brian, I was meditating, and you guys can write these questions in the Facebook group, and that'd be a great place to put them. Daniel, I was meditating on my goal for 10 days, and now and using supporting statements for negative voices that popped up. Now I have no negative self-talk. That's awesome, Daniel. But also I don't get excited by the goal anymore. I only feel heaviness in my body. Now, that doesn't sound like you're released. Is it a sign that it's time to start releasing now? Heaviness is usually a sign of apathy. If you're feeling numbness, you don't feel any emotions, it's a sign of some form of apathy is going on. If you're up really high, peace, love, there's no apathy. And maybe you might lose interest in the goal and you need to set a new one, that's fine. But you wouldn't be just heavy and emotionless. What's the difference between meditating and alternating positive, negative emotions, feelings every 10 seconds without releasing, just accepting, like you do in sexual transmutation video, versus releasing the negative? It causes a natural release, that's all. If you oscillate back and forth between emotions, good and bad, eventually you every time you let go of the negative and go to the positive, and let go of the positive and go to the negative, you're practicing actually releasing right there. The act of going back and forth, you have to release one to go to the other one. And pretty soon your brain gets it. Don't be attached to either of these. And as you're not attached to the positive or the negative, then you're just free and you naturally start to open up and be who you want to be. Okay, hopefully that answers the question, Daniel. Okay, I have one more here, and then make sure you guys put these questions. If you didn't get your question answered, you can put them in the Facebook group, someplace like that. Why do you need to develop a relationship to courage or other CAP emotion? Isn't it enough to just release on all the lower emotions? And when I get a release, to release on the expansion. I think I've already covered this just a little bit ago. I feel like if I always release on the now feeling, and once I get a release on the expansion, then I naturally move up to CAP. So why do I need to differentiate any emotion in CAP? Once I'm in CAP, I'm good, right? Yes and no. It depends on how far you want to go. Do you want to go all the way up to the, as Lester would say, imperturbability? Do you want to live in peace? Do you want to live in that desirelessness state where everything is beautiful? If you do, keep releasing. If you're fine in CAP, that's fine. But you got to remember that CAP, it's not the act of, it's not the act of continual releasing. It's the act of getting released and staying released like a hose where everything just moves through you all the time. So if you have the tendency to start closing again, you want to keep relaxing back open until there's just a constant flow, ultimately all the way up to peace. But you decide how far you want to go. That's your choice, and it's your consciousness. You decide how far you want to take it. And there's no right or wrong answer, to be honest. That's a personal choice. But if you want to keep going up and having greater and greater experiences of love and peace, then you do that. Walter Russell talks about how he was getting into these deep, deep bliss states with releasing. It was just like, everything's beautiful. And then he would say, but I wanted to see, he got super curious. He said, I want to see how far I can go. How far can I take this? So I'd be in this bliss state feeling amazing. And then I would say, can it get any better than this? And then he goes, boom, it would. I would expand and relax more, and it would even get better. My heart would open more. And I'd feel so good. And I'd sit there for a while and enjoy that. And then I'd ask it again. Wow, this is amazing. I love it. He's grateful for it, but can it get any better than this? He'd spend time in each state, I'm sure. And then boom, he would open even more. And he said he kept doing that. And that's why he went so far in the releasing process and got so free. Because he didn't just get to acceptable or good enough, which is actually what most people do. Most people will come to like a hypnotherapist or a personal growth teacher because they're stressed over money, and you work with them and you get them comfortable. And as soon as they're comfortable, they're like, yeah, they stop growing. It's the rare individual that wants to skyrocket up and wants to keep growing no matter what. And that's not, and neither are wrong. Some people really, and this is a beautiful thing. There's a great teacher that talks about this. He's very successful, but he talks about, I could do a lot more, but I don't want to. I could travel the world and be a speaker all over the world. I could push my record. He's a recording artist too. I could push my music all over the world. He says, but I make more than enough money. I'm comfortable. I have my big, beautiful house on the hill, and I really enjoy my time off. I enjoy my time reading, relaxing, pondering. And he says, and I'm not willing to give that up. So doing all this other stuff, he's doing more of it. He's growing constantly. He's not stopping. He's just growing internally. He's exploring more of his internal world. And that other stuff, he's got it to a satisfactory level for him. So you decide. Some people, they just want 100,000 a year, but they want to put all their energy into building a big, beautiful family. And there's nothing wrong with that either. That's amazing. Pick what you most want and go for it. Okay, awesome. So again, make sure you put your comments into the Facebook page if you haven't already. If there's anything else you want to know more about. Are you guys enjoying this? I know I went a little long-winded and we lost a lot of you because it's a long call, but hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Put a comment in the chat. Let me know how you're feeling right now. If you guys are enjoying it, just put a yes. And with that said, awesome. Good. Thank you, Reese. Thank you, Ed. You guys are awesome. I love teaching you guys. We're going to be teaching more and more about this stuff as time goes on, going deeper. We're still going to keep teaching about women, especially as we come out of COVID-19 and dating, but we're going to be teaching more about abundance, guys. We have a money program. It's a little ways down the road, but coming. It's going to be all about abundance and money, but not just money, abundance in any part of life, and having that abundance mindset and how to like express it out and get that return on life. So if you guys are interested in stuff like that, that's awesome. You guys are still interested. Love from Seattle. I haven't been to Seattle in years. I need to go out that way. If you guys are interested in these online programs, we're testing one this Friday with some previous clients. And if the machinery all works right, we're going to be looking at that stuff, possibly an online releasing course, possibly a dating course, things like that. And I'm excited to do them. It'll be a lot of fun. It's something new, and it's a way for us to reach a lot more people all over the globe. Teach somebody in Russia, or teach somebody in the really deeper stuff. Teach somebody the deeper stuff in Asia somewhere, like Japan or Thailand. And the whole idea of that just excites me. The more people I can touch in this world, the happier I am. So thank you guys. Remember to comment in the video in Facebook. If you see it in YouTube, make sure to comment in YouTube. Make sure to, if you're on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, make sure to hit that notification button and share. All of you guys, help us out, share. Let us get this message to as many people as possible. It helps with the algorithm. It helps with more people to see it. We get to help more people during this time of need, which then just brings abundance back to all of us later. Okay? Okay, guys, have a beautiful day. And we'll see. When's the next call? It's tomorrow. Is it tomorrow or the next day? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have Anthony.
Oh, it's Anthony's call. So Anthony is going to be talking. What's the name of that one? Apathy to Courage? Life on the Other Side of Apathy. So Anthony has had to come out of a lot of apathy, as I have, but he's had a more recent journey. And he's going to be talking about all his techniques for coming out of apathy and becoming how to climb out of it. So a lot of you guys have questions on how to climb out of apathy, because apathy is like quicksand. And so, did you want to say anything about your call, Anthony?
No, not at all, man. Looking forward to being on here and bringing some insight and some light to any confusion around apathy. Any of you guys going through it, might be able to relate to my story. And see you guys tomorrow.
Brian, you're in mute.
So I'll say that all again. if you guys are going to be on the call with Anthony tomorrow, make sure to put a little comment and tell Anthony, send Anthony some love and tell him you're going to be on the call, because it inspires us to do our best when we see that the good comments coming from you guys, and it means a lot to us. And so I know Anthony's going to kill it. So there you go, Anthony. See all the people saying they're going to be there. That's a lot of love. So Anthony can't wait for sure. Anthony, it's Vincent. Hey, Vincent, what's up, buddy? Dying to hear you speak. So this is perfect. So I'll definitely be there. Anthony has done amazing work with us. And I remember him running away at his first workshop. We were out in the field and going out, and he disappeared on us and didn't even tell us he was leaving. We had to go find him and chase him back down. And to where he's at now, where he's just he's doing more amazing stuff than I've ever seen him do. So he's a blossoming flower, that Anthony. So okay, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for all the love you're sending Anthony, and you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. Take care.